I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. Tonight we're diving back into the price of daycare, also known as childcare. It's definitely gone up over the last couple of decades, even when you account for inflation. But there are some ideas in the works to help parents cover those costs. That is our big story tonight. As I was thinking about this story today, I wondered what the data shows. How much has the price of daycare actually gone up in Oregon? I found this report, which is done every couple of years for the state of Oregon. It's so state agencies can get a clear picture on the costs. This is the most recent report. The report slices and dices a number of different things that are all sort of interesting, but this graph really summed it up for me. It's looking at the cost of sending a child to a daycare center as opposed to a home-based daycare. The cost for a preschooler is on the bottom line. Infant and toddlers are on the lines above. The researchers found in 22 years, from 2000 to 2022, prices adjusted for inflation rose 65% for preschoolers, 65% for toddlers, and 70% for infants, hitting around $1,800 a month per child for that top bracket. So it's not just a perception by parents that it's more expensive to put kids in daycare. It actually is much more expensive than it used to be. Ashley Grams is going to look at efforts to ease that burden in a bit. But along the way, we're also wanting to tell you that we're launching a new effort tonight called the KGW Solutions Project. It's our commitment to report on ideas and strategies that aim to solve our biggest problems. And there are plenty, as you know. More on that in a minute. But first, let's talk about what's being done about the rising costs of childcare. Ashley Grams has our report.
This is my daughter Zuri and my son Khalil.
Natalie Kaya is a mother of 4.
I have some older kids who are in 2nd grade as well.
A single working parent, she relies on the employment-related daycare program. It's state-subsidized childcare, and she qualifies based on her income. Without it, she'd have to pay around $3,000 a month.
So like if I get kicked off of ERDC again, I don't know what I will do about that.
For many parents like Kaya, childcare options are pricey.
Where do we go for like a bigger solution?
Well, I believe that what we need is a universal system for childcare here in Oregon.
Candace Vickers is the executive director of Family Forward, an Oregon nonprofit lobbying for universal childcare. Multnomah County has taken a small step toward that through Preschool for All, approved by voters in 2020.
He's 4 and absolutely wonderful, vivacious, amazing.
The program allows Adriana Mullins to send her son to preschool for free.
Thankfully, when Preschool for All was introduced, my son was able to get a spot.
He joins 1,300 other 3- and 4-year-olds across Multnomah County. Though the program is years away from offering care to every child, and for now prioritizes families who struggle to access childcare, including low-income families or those with children of color.
It's a new program, so it's going to take a long time for it to grow.
The county hopes to have 11,000 slots for preschoolers by 2030. That would mean about 85% of kids would have access to universal preschool. But the slow movement toward actually offering preschool for all isn't for lack of funding. In the first 2 years of the program, 2022 and 2023, the county raised over $375 million through income taxes. The county points to different obstacles plaguing the program.
We knew that there weren't enough facilities. There weren't enough people that were working right in this particular field.
Preschool for All director Leslie Barnes argues the problem is developing the class space and the employees that can support more childcare slots.
No matter how many slots we offer, they're not buildings that are adequate to really implement this. It just doesn't matter.
Despite the growing pains, Mullins says the program is working for her.
I was able to go and start working full time. So me and my husband both were able to contribute greatly to our financial well-being, but it wouldn't have happened without Preschool for All.
Another solution comes through employers. The Biden administration's CHIPS and Sciences Act requires private companies who receive a certain level of federal funding to provide childcare for their employees.
The care economy touches every single part of our economy. The care economy is the thing that underskirts everything else that works about our state.
A clear indicator that the ability to find and afford childcare impacts an employee's ability to come to work and stay there. something Kaya is well aware of.
The cost of childcare is crippling without the government assistance, the subsidy. And I just really hope that lawmakers are listening and are understanding how intense.
Ashley joins me now. Super interesting story again, and it was interesting too because there's a couple of solutions potentially that are out there, but way out there. Maybe that just shows that this is a really tough nut to crack, huh?
Definitely. I don't think anyone's found that big S solution yet, and we're in the process of seeing where some of these go. I mean, you think Preschool for All, relatively new, but still not taking off in the way that many people thought it would.
Yeah, it's at least, 6 years away, I think, from what you're saying.
Definitely.
And then this universal child care, I mean, I know that there's really passionate, smart people supporting and pushing that, but it doesn't even seem to have a horizon right now.
Right, and I mean, you talk about where's the stream of income going to come from? Is it going to come from the state? Is it going to come from the federal government? I mean, who's going to pay for this? Would it be part of the public school system? Those are all ideas that people have floated, but so far nothing's caught on.
Yeah, and whatever particular stream, the general answer is taxpayers. Yeah. All right, thank you, Ashley Grams. Great stuff as always. Now it's your chance to chime in on the cost of daycare. If you're struggling with it yourself, or maybe you have a loved one who found a solution of their own, let us know, will you? You could email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Now let's talk more about the KGW Solutions project. It's bigger than any one story or series. I caught up with my colleague David Mulco earlier today, asking him to tell us more about this new station-wide initiative.
Well, Pat, this is really exciting. The KGW Solutions project is a commitment. It's a commitment to all of you, our viewers. It's a commitment to each other. It is a commitment to our community to intentionally highlight the people, the groups, the organizations working toward making a positive, tangible difference. So what does that mean? It means we're making a promise to go beyond negative headlines, to dig deeper, to explore possibilities, to look at potential when it comes to some of the big issues. So housing, homelessness, substance abuse, climate change, childcare, the list really does go on and on here.
So we're promising solutions, but what does solutions mean? What are we going to get to the bottom of?
Yeah, I mean, you're really hitting the nail on the head here, because some of these problems, Pat, have been with us for decades, right? Homelessness, for example. So there's no silver bullet. There's no one size fits all. There's no promise that we or anyone else, let's be realistic, are going to solve our housing crisis in the next 6 months or the next 6 years. But we're calling it the KGW Solutions Project because it is an ongoing effort. There is no end date here. We know we've heard from a lot of you. You want a better sense of what is going well, who is making a difference, and why. And from that, how we can all do a little bit better. Keep in mind, the intention here is for this to become part of KGW's DNA over the months and years to come here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And how's it going to be different, though, from the journalism we're doing right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, the quality, the standards, the same questions we ask, that's all part of this, too. What this is, it's an intention. It's intention to make the ideas and the strategies and the solutions the focus of our stories and segments. It's not just problem, it's problem possibility, or maybe problem possibility payoff. It's working, here's why, here's how we know. By the way, we're still going to tell it like it is, right? There are going to be drawbacks, there are going to be trade-offs, as you saw in Ashley's stories there, Pat, limited resources. And yes, there will still be people who disagree on the economics, maybe the politics, who point out the flaws or the shortcomings. We expect that. That is all part of this. But again, who's making a difference and how, even if it's on a very, very small scale? Is it backed up with evidence? Can it be scaled up? That is what we're promising.
All right, and if people want to get a hold of us with their ideas, how do they do that?
Yeah, we have a brand new email address. It is solutions@kgw.com. We also have a brand new section of the website that is kgw.com/solutions.
So there you go. Moving on now, police have been targeting the streets around the Central Public Library in Southwest Portland for weeks now, calling it the new hotspot for fentanyl use and dealing. That made us wonder, what's it like inside the library? Blair Best takes us in for a look.
Adrian Groark has one way to escape street life.
I mean, there's a lot of good resources here, and it's a very nice place to be.
That's inside the Central Public Library in Southwest Portland.
Well, because it's quiet, and like I said, they're not going to be bounced around by, the craziness that goes on just around the corner from here.
He stays until 5 p.m. check-in at a local shelter.
Charging my phone, playing a video game, charging my computer.
Same goes for Matthew, who spends his days on the second floor.
It's a place where I can come and make calls, look on the internet and watch videos so I can waste some time.
And Justin, the shelter where he sleeps, closes each morning.
Just never really had a home base.
I think the public library plays a critical role in helping provide that safer space.
Annie Lewis is the library's deputy director.
We work very hard to address safety and security within our spaces.
Lately, Portland police have been targeting the surrounding block, what they're calling the new hotspot for drug use and dealing.
And so we have had staff administer Narcan across in the very recent month.
In the past year, library staff used Narcan 7 times on someone who overdosed outside.
We're responding to factors that are beyond our control, right, that the public library did not create. And so we're doing our best to respond.
They've added outside overnight security, increased staff safety training, and built an office for social workers. They're 7 days a week.
Drug abusers, people that scared my grandchildren, and so basically I stopped coming for quite a long time.
It's appalling. I mean, nobody seems to have an answer.
Lewis says they're doing all they can.
And I absolutely understand that. I think we work really, really hard to create a space that's safe and welcoming for everyone.
As the library adapts to the tragic tale of addiction in Portland.
I think the library is getting a thicker skin, which is what's needed.
So Blair, what about outside? I know that the fentanyl state of emergency team is stepping in to do some things. What do they got going on?
Right, so starting next week, you'll see some new lighting being put up outside the library. That's an idea that came out of the 90-day fentanyl state of emergency as a way to try and stop drug deals happening at night. The city is also stepping in here, sending biohazard crews to keep the sidewalks around the library clean of any drug paraphernalia or other debris. And then the library also tells us today that they have about $3 million set aside for anything security and safety related.
Huh. Well, and I know that it's tough because a lot of us have sort of suburban libraries where maybe it's the way they've been since the 50s, quiet and calm. But since this one is downtown, and I think maybe the biggest one in all of Portland, it does, I guess it has inside what is right outside, right?
Yeah, very much so. You know, what people have to remember is that a public library is a reflection of the community around it. It's like a mirror in many ways. And so that's what we're seeing here at this library. You know, this section of downtown Portland in many ways is overrun with people living on the streets and using drugs. So we see some of that make its way into the library. You know, that's why some of the rooms don't smell great and they're being used as almost like a homeless day center in many ways. That's what we heard today. But the bottom line is the core value of this public library is it's a safe space for everyone, period. I mean, when there's safety issues or an incident that arises, staff are trained and they have protocols to handle that. But again, at the end of the day, it's a space for all.
Yeah,
Pat?
And I know it's been a problem nationally. It's a problem I'm just reading today up in Seattle, so certainly a problem that needs some solving here in the near future. Thanks a lot, Blair. Speaking of the Multnomah County Library, have you noticed that several of the branches have been somewhat randomly, seemingly closed lately or gone to door service only? Less than 2 weeks ago, the Gresham Library went to door service only for the day because they say of a staffing shortage. The day before, the Northwest branch was closed completely, also because of the staffing shortage. The same 2 libraries had to close 2 weeks earlier, same reason. Belmont was closed just a few days before, and again the week before that. All of these closures came in the month of March. So we wanted to know what's going on there. So we asked the library's deputy director about it today, while we were also asking her about security. She says the library recently signed a new contract with the union representing the library staff, and it includes a big change. Here's how it works. Every library branch needs to now have a person in charge for the day. That person is, you guessed it, large and in charge. So they're the ones who have to deal with any safety or security issues that come up. Before the contract, the library could assign somebody to do that job, but now someone has to volunteer or opt in. And if no one steps up, the library cannot open. This all went into effect March 1st, and then libraries started closing throughout March.
The person in charge is responsible for helping to enforce library rules. And that can involve managing very difficult situations that may involve escalated behaviors from library patrons. It may involve escalated language and even physical issues. And so not all staff are able to serve in that role or have a desire to serve in that role. And that's for a variety of factors that is really, based on the individual's experience, their own history, and their interest in terms of working at the library.
Seems like we're asking them to do a whole lot more than help us find a book now. The library says they're working on hiring new supervisors who would be required to fill the person in charge role. But Lewis says the library is also understaffed, and that's contributing to the issue. They have several more job vacancies that they're now trying to fill. It's budget season, and now's the time for you to weigh in on how the city of Portland spends its money. If you live in the city, some important programs could be on the chopping block. We'll take a look at the discussion over Portland's purse strings when the story returns. It's springtime in Oregon, which means allergies for some of us. I've been coughing all week. But it's also budget season. And while that may seem like kind of a dry topic, you should pay attention. One way or another, there's a good chance it will affect you. This time around, Portland leaders are trying to figure out what can be cut from the budget to save money. Last night, they held the first of 3 public forums on the topic. Mayor Wheeler emphasized funds are limited this year due to several reasons, from one-time funding running out to the cost of transitioning to a new form of city government. One of the programs that could see big funding cuts, Portland's Street Response. Alma McCarty has that story.
In Portland, now's the time to weigh in on the city's upcoming budget.
We appreciate it. I look forward to hearing your perspective on how we can best address some of the issues deeply affecting our city.
Wednesday's listening session both online and in person inside the Portland building. A group calling themselves the Portland Raging Grannies, including Carol Miller, attended this first of 3.
We believe that the community violence prevention programs need to be fully funded.
They're hoping to sway leaders on this before the budget's finalized. But Miller knows there's only so much money to go around.
It sounds to me like there are going to be a lot of tough budget decisions to be made, and I really feel like the root level community programs really need to be funded.
A proposed $3 million cut to the mobile mental health crisis team revealed earlier this year pushed supporters to speak out.
Let the Portland Police focus on their mission of public safety, and Portland Street Response focus on helping people who are in crisis.
At minimum, PSR needs to have a budget that can help maintain service levels that allow for 24/7 service.
People of Portland, your constituents, want more Portland Street Response, not less.
PSRs housed within the city's Fire Bureau, which reported an $11 million budget deficit.
As firefighters, we want to see the street response continue, but so does the community. And I think so does the mayor and so does council. I don't think anybody's looking to make reductions in Portland Street Response.
But what Isaac McLennan, president of the Portland Firefighters Association, does fear are cuts to firefighters or fire stations.
Well, what I'm concerned about is a reduction in the number of firefighters on duty in Portland. So if you remove firefighters from the fire station and close engines, close trucks, you're simply exacerbating that problem throughout the city. It's going to have a ripple effect all across Portland.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
And Alma reminds us it's still the early stages of the budget process. The current budget ends June 30th. The mayor has not yet fully presented the full picture to the council. That's expected later this month. But ahead of that, each bureau had to come up with a plan, budgeting within constraints for the upcoming year. The next listening session is online on Saturday at 10 a.m. You can find the link on the city's website. Still ahead, time for a trip into the KGW vault and a look back at the O.J. Simpson trial.
If you have enough money, you can get away with just about anything.
That's what the verdict says to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Not everybody felt that way, though. And people even gathered to watch the verdict in Pioneer Courthouse Square. We'll take a look when we come back. The big national headline today, the death of O.J. Simpson at the age of 76 after a battle with cancer. A polarizing figure in American history, his trial for the murder of his former wife and her friend grabbed national attention for months, culminating in the reading of the not guilty verdict in October of 1995. I remember every little development was big news night after night. I was here working. I remember watching the chase live on TV. We went down to the KGW vault today and found our coverage on verdict day back in 1995.
If you have enough money, you can get away with just about anything.
That's what the verdict says to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's the right verdict, I think, for O.J.
And why do you say, sir?
Because I don't think O.J. would do anything like that.
Moments earlier, a group of about 50 gathered in front of a television at Pioneer Courthouse Square.
Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder.
The not guilty verdict not only caught many folks by surprise, it sharply divided our viewers. National surveys already show it. Black Americans tend to feel differently about O.J. than do whites.
Makes me want to cry.
Now, why is that, ma'am?
He did it. He did it. And they let him go.
I think it's a travesty of justice.
Reason being that?
There was no reason to acquit him.
They had some evidence against him, but for one person to commit both crimes in the fashion that it was done, I don't believe he did it by himself.
I think that he didn't do it and, he didn't get, found guilty, so I'm happy about that.
But nearly lost in the debate was this.
It's hard for most people to realize that not guilty does not mean innocent.
He's a lawyer, and his point is worth remembering as the Simpson verdict sinks in. I'm Walden Kirsch, KGW Northwest News Channel 8.
Walden, longtime reporter here, now out at Intel. By the way, if you have any O.J. memories from his football stardom to the infamous Bronco chase to the end of the trial and beyond, send them our way, will you? We'd love to hear from you. You can email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090. Well, that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for always contributing to our show, sending your voicemails and emails. It really does affect our coverage, and we love it. Also, remember the story, our collective story, that never ends. It goes on and on. The good stuff's coming your way next. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.